I'm here with my boy, BFG. And in case you're wondering, BFG, you don't need to know what that stands for, but looking at him, it's fairly obvious what it stands for.
You know what it is.
But listen, man, 2-1 win, so job well done in the end. What is your overall thoughts on the game?
Honestly, look, 2-1 on the face of it, it doesn't sound great because we should have beaten them by more. But look, I'm thinking about the title. And if I'm thinking about the title, the performance in the second half especially probably wasn't good enough. I do think that, first half it was very, very, solid and commanding. But if we're trying to go for those, going for the big trophies, the Champions League and the Premier League, I don't know if that's going to get us all the way through. But that's not to be negative because, listen, we can talk about, the second half, but I'm sure we're going to, speak about the first half a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're being presumptuous, but we got off to such a great start and went 2-0 up fairly early in the game. And I remember thinking to myself that this could be, a game where it could really stick it on them and win 4 or 5. But in the second half, I think it's fair to say that we were a little flat. And it was inevitable that Wolves were going to come back at us. They got a goal, and you could argue that we were holding on a little bit towards the end.
Well, look, in the first half especially, I think there was a point where we asked Frank what the passing possession was, and I think he said something like 89%, and we had 69% possession overall. And that dominance, we didn't just see it in terms of the passing, but we were threatening in the first half. Jesus was looking great, looking sourcing. I think that we saw Saka, he just looked electric throughout the whole game. I thought Tomiyasu looked good. The whole team, there was just so much cohesion, but it kind of waned off in the second half of the first half. It kind of started to go away, and then I even remember on the screen when we was doing the live, I remember not Tamvi, it was Talia. Sorry, she kind of said, "I want half time now," just to kind of get the manager to give them a little bit of a kick up the bum. But came out in the second half, and it was just boring. It was flat, and listen, we don't really like to talk about Spurs fans in here, but I remember my good boy Tapping Tobes last season. He said, you shouldn't be going life and death with some of these teams. These smaller teams, you should just be putting them to bed. And I felt, especially in that second half, when they scored the goal, we shouldn't really be nervous. I feel like at the end of the game, I was just sitting there thinking, please blow the whistle, referee. And we shouldn't be doing that in a game like today.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Forest game earlier in the season, in a way. We were 2-0, we're looking fairly comfortable. And then the opposition get a goal, and then you're kind of thinking, wow, man, this could go wrong here. So it's good to get the win. The upshot is we're still topping the table at the moment by 4 points. Could get narrowed by tomorrow, obviously, but still in a good position. Yeah, still a good week. I mean, you think about it. Yeah. 3 wins on the bounce like that.
Yeah. Listen, people might think I'm being negative. People might think that I'm, being overzealous with my sort of my negativity, you're going to call it. But I'm trying to win the league. So when you're trying to win the league, you have to nitpick. The performance overall was fine. The second half, I know I've sort of maybe kind of going to sound like I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but I wasn't too worried with, the non-attacking because I thought the players were conserving energy. I thought that the team was just trying to just see the game out, coasting. We saw that obviously Zinchenko was losing the ball quite a few times. So all of these things I can kind of rationalize and put it down as, whatever the game was. But if you're trying to win the league, a better team, a Brentford away from home or, Aston Villa away from home, they smell a bit of blood, they're going to go for the neck. And I just don't want the players to have that complacency. I don't want the players to sit there and think, you know what, we're 2-0 up, we're coasting. Because as you said in the first half, 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline. And it almost turned out to be that way. So listen, we're top of the league, fantastic. We're going into a busy schedule, in December. So all of these things, I just think I want the manager and the players to just really kind of fine tune. Because as I said, I don't want to be sitting here next May with another team lifting that trophy because we have the players, we've got the manager, we've got the squad to do this. But obviously it's just like the little things that, you're going to start to pick because when you're a top team, there's not much to criticize. We've got such a fantastic player who I want to spend a bit of time speaking on with Saka. That's another goal he's got. Tomiyasu just looked amazing.
Although it looks like he may have picked up an injury.
Yeah, he did.
Slightly worried for you?
Yeah, but I mean, look, I think it's one of those things where Ben White can come in and deputise and, do a good job. Not even deputising. He is probably the first starting right back in, but he's obviously been subbed on for a couple of games. But listen, I'm just looking at it, and then I said I'm just trying to fine tune right now because we can't keep saying we're only 14 games in, we're only 15 games in. It's going to get to a point where we're now thinking, right, we're on the home stretch, and when we're in the home stretch and it's squeaky bum time, we need to make sure that we're there and we're ready for that running.
I feel like I've got to ask you this. Zinchenko, good going forward, but defensively he was a bit lax at times. And indeed, he got the ball, took off him in the box where he looked a little bit behind the pace, a bit complacent. Are you a little worried about him defensively? I know you said on the watch along that I think you said something like he'd given the ball away or 5 or 6 times or something like that. Is there a little worry there that defensively he's not quite at it?
And yeah, I mean, look, as I said on the watch along, last season a lot of people would attribute the reason why we lost the league is because the mishap he had against Liverpool away from home. They're going to try and put that on him and say that obviously when he got nutmegged, that was just not good defending. But it wasn't his best game overall. I thought he was really good against Lons, and he has those games. He can throw in a game like today where he is good, effective, and going forward. But defensively, there's a lot to be desired. And I think when you're trying to again win the league, you just need a consistent player. And for all the amazing stuff he's got going forward, we speak about Trent in the same way. Defensively, he's just obviously not at that level as the top right back. So when we're talking about Zinchenko, we know he's not a full-time left back. We know he's a midfielder, but he's doing a job. So it's again hard to give him a lot of negativity, but it's a tough one because we wanna get to that the top, and if we want to get to the top, we just need a bit more consistency. And today, just the lack of concentration, giving the ball away, and you said at the time at half time you need to go and get a coffee, and when you're thinking about it, and when you're thinking about it, he probably needed another one at the end. So or he was moving like he was having too many brandies. I know it said December and that, but yeah, it's a weird one, man. But
okay, in closing then. A win today, as we said, a good win in the end, although there was a few bumps in the road. We've got Luton on Tuesday. That potentially could be a difficult game because Luton at home are, let's be honest, they do work hard. They are physical. They will be competitive, I would have thought. But how do you feel about that game on Tuesday? Would you make any changes, for example?
I mean, probably the obvious one's going to be Ben White coming in for Tomiyasu if he's injured. But for me, I would probably keep the same team. I know you was kind of a little bit sceptical about Trossard, and I'm sure you'll talk about that.
For me, I think Trossard, listen, I rate Trossard, as you know, highly, but I have to say it wasn't one of his better games today. So the manager might look at that and say, look, maybe Havertz starts because, let's be honest, he has a greater physical dimension than Trossard. And as we said before, Luton are quite a physical team, quite a, energised team. So you might look at that and think, get Hazard's extra physicality in there. But yeah, that was my thoughts on that. But what do you think?
I would keep the same team. I think overall, listen, I'm going to just surmise it all. 3 points and we move. I think that's the best way to do it. We move to the next game.
And I can't let you get away without your comment on Eddie. I mean, Eddie had a great chance at the end there to basically wrap up the game. Didn't quite go his way. I mean, listen, it wasn't one of those misses where he completely shanked it. He was a little unlucky because it looked like he hit the inside of the post and came back out again. But he should really have done better, if I'm being honest. But I know that you've got some thoughts on that.
Listen, in the famous words of Arteta, if I speak, they will suspend me 6 months. They will suspend me 6 months, man.
I think we better leave it there.